Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, and we'd like to call the meeting of the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners to order. And this evening will be led in prayer by Commissioner Schaefer, and then the Pledge to Allegiance by Commissioner Will Jordan. Where is he? Where's Mr. Schaefer? He's here. He comes.
I'd ask you all this evening to pray along with me, to pray in your hearts in union for unity in our world and our country. And dear Father in heaven, we just thank you for the blessings that you give us, for the right to come together like this, for the freedoms we have, dear Lord. But Lord, we also have, it seems, so many problems. And we just ask you to put the peace of your Son in this world, the wisdom of your Spirit, and give us, starting at this level, and going on to our state, our country, and all the national leaders. Let them know what true wisdom is, dear Lord, to help them in the decisions and the actions that they need. We also ask you, Lord, to be with all our service people all over the world, here and abroad, Lord, and protect them. And all our families and all our friends, dear Lord, to be with them and put your healing touch on all of them that need your help. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer. Here. Commissioner Black. Here. Commissioner Jordan. Here. Commissioner P. Here. Commissioner Cook. Here. Commissioner Jernigan. Here. Commissioner Farley.
Here.
Commissioner Phillips. Here. Commissioner Sandlin. Here. Commissioner Turner.
Here.
Commissioner Allen. Here. Commissioner Stevens.
Here.
Commissioner Jordan. Here. Commissioner Baum. Here. Commissioner Coggin. Commissioner Young, Commissioner Phillips, Commissioner McAdoo, Commissioner Ely, Commissioner Gooch, Commissioner Sereno. There's 21 present.
Thank you very much. You have before you the minutes of the last meeting. Do we have a motion, Commissioner Sandlin?
Mr. Chairman, I've reviewed those minutes and I'll make a motion to approve as sent out.
Second, Commissioner Tiffany Phillips. Anyone have any corrections or additions? There being none, all of you in favor of that, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Now we have an opportunity for public comments, and we have one person that wishes to speak today, Mr. Donald Todd. Give us your name and address.
My name is Donald Todd, and I live at 633 Buck Lane. Adopt a Taxpayer Bill of Rights. In 1992, the voters of Colorado adopted legislation that puts a limit on how much unspent surplus revenue can be spent by the state, county, or school district governments. In other words, under this law, these governments cannot raise tax rates without voter approval and cannot spend revenues collected under existing tax rates if revenues grow faster than the rate of inflation and faster than the growth of the population. Voters' approval would be required for any one of these spending situations. Because the Colorado voters adopted this type of Taxpayers' Bill of Rights legislation in 1992, and because it was so successful, the taxpayers of Tennessee should follow Colorado's example and adopt similar legislation. Under Colorado's 1992 law, when surplus revenue exceeded the limitations established under this law, the state was required to refund this surplus to taxpayers. Fortunately, Colorado citizens have benefited from this requirement because the state has recently been required to refund more than $2 billion to taxpayers. In the years after implementation, the state experienced economic growth that exceeded the rest of the country and a reining in of big government. It has become necessary here in Tennessee to adopt a similar kind of taxpayer bill of rights to prevent our county governments from blocking taxpayer accessibility to their own surplus revenue. Adequate accessibility to the surplus revenue in both Rutherford and Williamson counties is almost impossible because of a lack of laws. Proper laws would prevent a violation of a federal law which forbids the use of public money for private gain. And necessary laws like Colorado's Taxpayer Bill of Rights would guarantee that taxpayers be made aware of the surplus revenues and what will be done with them, including refunds. This is something the taxpayers of Tennessee don't have. Both Rutherford and Williamson counties have high debt. Neither county is making an effort to curb that debt. This puts bankruptcy on the horizon. The 2013 CAFR report shows Rutherford County with a $462 million debt, not including OPEB. Williamson County owes more than $717 million, including the OPEB debt. These signs of impending bankruptcy are stimulated by periodic tax increases. Surplus revenue should go to pay off debt and refund taxpayers, not to finance bankers. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is elections and confirmations, and we'll call on Commissioner Gooch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. Steering has several items for your consideration this evening. On your desk, you will find a list of notary candidates, and I would move for their election, Mr. Chair.
Second, Commissioner Cook. Okay, all of you in favor of that, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Need to fill 6 vacancies on the Board of Health. Steering nominates Dr. Tammy Adams, Dr. James Gardner, Dr. Ronald Wright, Dr. Chad Mills, Mrs. Judy Campbell, and Dr. Charles Kennard. I so move, Mr. Chair.
Second, Commissioner Sandlin. Any questions? All of you in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thirdly, we need to fill 3 vacancies on the Linebaugh Library Board. Steering nominates Mrs. Christy Lee, Mrs. Nell Blankenship, and Mr. Kerry Strawson. I so move, Mr. Chair.
Farley, second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Need to fill a vacancy on the Stones River Regional Library Board. Steering nominates Mrs. Nell Blankenship, and I move for her approval, Mr. Chair.
Second, Commissioner Jordan. Any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Need to announce 2 vacancies on the Community Care Board, and we need to affirm the appointment of judicial commissioners Savon Cole, Stephanie Marvin, Kim Cable, and Kay Ship. I move for their affirmation, Mr. Chair.
Second from Commissioner Farley. Any discussion on that? There being none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioner Gooch. There is no unfinished business, and we will start the reports by the standing committees. There is a monthly report from the Purchasing Committee. Do we have a motion to accept that report? Commissioner Black and Commissioner Schaefer, in whichever order we need them. Any questions on that? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed to that? Thank you. Now we are ready to start the process with the report from Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee. Commissioner Ely.
Item J2A, the General Fund Budget Amendments. Be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the General Fund be amended as follows. And I will start with the 2013-2014 revenue adjustments. And Commissioners, we will be doing revenue adjustments for all funds this evening. And if you will go to page 6, you will see that there is a net increase to revenue for the general fund of $1,936,175, with expenditures and reserves to the Stones River Greenway, Chamber of Commerce, Trustees Commission, Workers' Comp, and OJI, and restricted and committed for funds totaling $1,916,613, with a net to unassigned fund balance for the general fund of $19,562. A budget amendment from Pet Adoption and Wellness Services, increased expenditures, and I need to alert especially the Budget Committee, these numbers are going to be different than what was presented at budget. Increased expenditures for a motor vehicle needs to be corrected to $22,000. Increased expenditures, other equipment, $19,000, and decrease for restricted for capital would total $41,000. From the Sheriff's Department, increased expenditures for food supplies, $60,000, and utilities, $40,000. Decreased expenditures, jury and witness expenses, $10,000. Communications, $70,000. Gasoline, $20,000. Increased revenue from contributions and gifts, $1,200. Increased expenditures, other contracted services, $700, and other charges, $500. Increased revenue from sale of recyclable materials, $1,980. Increased expenditures for other materials and supplies, $538. And building improvements, $1,442. Increased revenue from contributions and gifts, $900. Increased expenditures for in-service training, $900. Increased revenue from sale of materials and supplies, $1,984. Increased expenditures for office supplies, $80, and other materials and supplies, $1,904. Increased revenue from other local revenue of $2,563. Increased expenditures for building improvements, $2,563. Resolved this 12th day of June, 2014. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Second, Commissioner Jernigan. Does anyone have any questions regarding any of these? All right, there being none, please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes. System not going. Okay. Do you need a bit of time? You want me to just call the roll on this, or? No voters. All right. We're going to have to go.
I think I know what's going on. It's been a year since I touched this system. I apologize. Yes, there we go.
Go. So, looks like we have.
We have 24, 1 opposed.
Okay. All right. So. Record the votes, and we have 20 yes and 1 no. Is that correct, Mr.?
Yes, sir, that's what I have.
Okay. All right, so now we look like we're ready to go on the balance of these. So continue on, Mrs. Ely, please. That light may be out.
I think that light is out. I am showing green on our board.
I think your bulb is still out. Okay.
Item J2B, Special Purpose Fund Budget Amendment. Be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the Special Purpose Fund be amended as follows. From the Sheriff's Department, increased revenue from asset forfeiture, $856. Increased expenditures for drug enforcement, $856. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Second from Commissioner Chanto Sereno. Any questions? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
I've got 21 yes.
Finished? Yes, sir. You, tell me. You just read out. You tell me what your vote is when you get the vote.
Yes, sir. We have 21 for, 0 against.
Right. Motion carried. All right. Thank you. Now we can continue on.
Item J2C, a drug fund budget amendment. Be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the drug fund be amended as follows. And again, this is revenue adjustments. We have an increase in revenues for the drug fund of $94,800. Trustees Commission, $1,800, with restricted for public safety for the drug fund, $93,000. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Second, Commissioner Schaefer. Any questions? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
Yes, sir. We have 21 in favor.
21 votes yes. All right. Motion carried.
Item J2D, Solid Waste Fund Budget Amendment, and these are the revenue adjustments for the Solid Waste Fund. An increase of $323,501 with a decrease of $35,000. Trustees Commission, $1,550 with a sign for public health and welfare to the Solid Waste Sanitation Fund of $356,951. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
And a second from Maryville, Commissioner Turner. All right. Any questions? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
21 yes.
All right, motion carried. Thank you.
Item J2E, the Ambulance Service Fund Budget Amendments. Be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the Ambulance Service Fund be amended as follows. Increased revenue, contributions of $8,000, increased expenditures, in-service training, $8,000. Increased expenditures for operating transfers, $250,000. Decreased expenditures for building construction, $250,000. And I would remind you of this budget amendment being the construction of the new ambulance station and the renovation of the Burton Street property. We also have the revenue adjustments for the ambulance service. Increased revenues of $78,900, decreased revenues of $265,667, with a decrease to the ambulance service fund of $186,767. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Second, Commissioner Sandin. Any questions or discussion? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
21 yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
J2F, a highway fund budget amendment. Again, we have the 2013-2014 revenue adjustments. Increased in revenue, $631,670, with a decrease of $342,591, $3,000 for trustees commission, with a net assigned for highway and public works, $286,079. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Second, Commissioner P. Questions? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
21 yes.
Thank you.
Item J2G, debt service fund budget amendment. Again, we're doing revenue adjustments. An increase of $1,282,300, with a decrease of $196,802, with trustees commission being $17,000, and the net assigned for debt service is $1,068,498. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Second, Commissioner Jernigan. Question from Mr. Farley.
I don't have a question. I mean, it's a comment. On the board, it's talking about J2A. I don't know if electronically, if it's lining up with our votes. But I wanted to just make sure that we're still on the.
You're saying we're not on, like we're on item J2G right now?
But it's showing J2A up there.
Okay. Yeah, I see that now.
We're keeping up with it. He's assigning it to the thing, but he get it changed up there.
Okay, I just want to make sure we are all lined up electronically.
But it is showing up on the computer screen here.
I don't know why it's not
correctly. In any event, we will manage that correction if it's necessary. Where were we? Rick, what did we? We're
still on G. Yeah, I don't think Mr. Farley had a question.
So we have a motion and a second, and you had a question. Okay. Any other discussion or question? Okay. Are we?
And Commissioner Farley, when I say when it goes to the vote, it has that item that's on the agenda being recorded, tagged to those votes.
Okay.
Saying, do you want to commit those votes to this item? And that's
right. And by all means, I wasn't trying to call you out or nothing. I just seen that, and I want to make sure before we left here tonight that it was all.
I am not your normal person that does this.
Understand? Hey, you're a whole lot better than I am.
Okay, so are we ready to record this vote, sir?
Yes, sir. I am ready for J2G.
J2G, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Now record the votes.
21 yes.
Item J2H, approval of multi-year purpose agreement for the OIT department. Whereas the Office of Information Technology has negotiated the purchase of a storage array device for the redundant backup of data from LPS integration on a multi-year payment plan. Whereas LPS integration has arranged the financing of the purchase through a capital lease agreement with DeLange Landon Public Finance, LLC. whereas the cost of the storage array device is $340,972.54, to be paid in 3 equal annual installments of $113,657.51 with no interest cost. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the county mayor and all other appropriate officials of Rutherford County, Tennessee, be and are hereby authorized to execute for and on behalf of Rutherford County an equipment purchase lease agreement with DeLange Landon Public Finance, LLC, a copy of the same being attached hereto as Exhibit 1 and incorporated herein by reference as set forth herein at length verbatim, for the purchase of a storage array device. Resolved this 12th day of June, 2014. I move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
And a second. Commissioner Peake. Questions or discussions? All right, please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
21 yes.
Item J2I, approval of a grant with Tennessee Department of Children's Services for juvenile detention. Whereas Rutherford County has been provided a contract from the State of Tennessee Department of Children's Services for the provision of detention services for state juveniles in the contract period of July 1, 2014 through June 30, 2015. And whereas the contract provides for payment of $132.38 per child per day for Rutherford County to hold a state juvenile. And whereas the maximum liability to the state under the contract shall not exceed $180,698.70. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the county mayor be and is hereby authorized to execute a contract with the Tennessee Department of Children's Services, a copy of the same being attached hereto as Exhibit 1 and incorporated herein by reference as if set forth herein at length verbatim, for the provision of detention services for the period beginning on July 1, 2014 and ending June 30, 2015, with the maximum liability of the state under the contract not to exceed $180,698.70. Resolved this 12th day of June, 2014. I move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Need a second. Commissioner Cook. Questions or discussion? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
We have 20 yes, 1 abstain.
20 yes, 1 abstained. Nope.
That means they're not here, right?
No. Not voting.
Not voting. 1 not voting.
One not voting then.
Okay. 20 yes, 1 not voting.
It's not abstain. Well, it's yellow's abstain on the screen. I wasn't looking up. So 20 yes. Yeah.
Right. So 1 absent. All right, Mrs. Ely, you're not going to have time to finish these last couple, so if you would, we'll take a stop right here and be ready to address the one public hearing that we do have. Okay. Okay, tonight we have one request, rezoning request 14-A007. Bill McDowell, the applicant, on behalf of Triton Construction, located at 10,233 Highway 99. Existing zoning is residential medium density. Proposed zoning is commercial services, and the size of the site is approximately 21 acres. And Mr. DeMosi, you may more fully explain this application.
Yes, Mayor Burgess, thank you, and good evening, Mayor and members of the Commission. This property is located along the north side of Highway 99. It's immediately adjacent to an existing business, Triton Construction, actually owned by the same people as well. The existing business where the property is was zoned for commercial purposes under our previous zoning resolution in 2011. Also, there were site plans approved for the use of the property in March of 2011 for the first phase, and the second phase we saw just a couple months ago in March of this year. It was discovered during the review of the Phase 2 site plan that there was some storage accessory with the existing business occurring on the subject property that's before you tonight. There was also a complaint made to our zoning enforcement office. We instructed the applicant at that point to either remove the material from the property or request rezoning of the property, which is why this application is before you tonight. We chose the commercial services category because this is what we would classify as construction, sales, and service activity, which is allowed by right in that zone. We did inform the applicant, though, if they ever would like to expand onto that property with additional buildings, especially if they're doing fabrication and those kind of things, they may require rezoning of the property as the commercial services doesn't allow for that. Most of the discussion at the Planning Commission really centered around the screening of the property. There's a good amount of existing landscape material and screening on the property as it currently exists. However, there are a few gaps, and one of the neighbors to the west had some concerns about that. On your tables today, you'll see there's a conceptual landscape plan that was drawn out. What they're proposing to do is basically fill the gap, especially that gap right where the gentleman's property is, with a 5-foot high dirt mound which would follow the existing grade, and then cap that with a bunch of Leland cypress, minimum 8 foot tall, to be planted with a 7 foot on center. So that's what their proposal is. This is really more for your informational purposes. If you do approve this tonight, it's not subject to this. The planning staff will review that and make sure that it meets the zoning criteria in the ordinance. With that, the Planning Commission did recommend unanimously for approval for this by a vote of 9-4 and 0 against. Jamie Reed with SEC Engineering represents the applicant, is present, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions of Mr. DeMosi? Okay, there are no questions for you, so stand by and we will declare the public hearing for rezoning request 14-A007 open. If there are is anyone here that wishes to speak for or against this request, now is your opportunity to come forward and give us your name and address and make your statement. Is there anyone that wishes to speak? I don't see anyone wishing to speak, therefore the public hearing is closed. Do we have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Turner and a second by Commissioner Phillips and Allen. Okay, now questions and discussions. Commissioner Farley.
There's not going to be a building on this property, is that correct?
At this time, that is correct. Yes, sir. It's just for storage.
Other discussion or questions? Commissioner Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I request that all of our votes tonight be by a recorded vote.
Okay, we can do that. I wish you'd wait a little bit. We got several more. All right. We have a request to go by roll call vote, so we will do that. Any other discussion or question on this? We do have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
They have thrown off our technology person here for just a moment. Just give us a moment to enter that item because we didn't have that one entered, I don't think.
The motion is this is a separate motion to record the votes, correct? Or is this to approve this?
This is to approve.
I'm ready then.
So we already have a motion and a second, and we're ready to.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I was thrown off by Mr. Stevens' motion.
All right. So have we? If I haven't already said so, we cast your votes. Now record the votes.
H1.
Here we go.
And we have 20 voting. We have 20 voting yes.
With one absent. Okay. That being said, is there anything else, Mr. DeMosi, on this one? That motion carried, and we're ready to come back and begin and complete our Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee report.
We are ready for item J2J, approval of a grant with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services for the Drug Court. Whereas Rutherford County has been notified of an available grant through the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services for the provision of the Tennessee Certified Recovery Court Program at the Rutherford County Drug Court in the amount of $107,500, which requires no local matching funds for the period of July 1, 2014 through June 30, 2015. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the county mayor and all other appropriate officials of Rutherford County, Tennessee, be and are hereby authorized to execute a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. A copy of the same being attached hereto is Exhibit 1 and incorporated herein by reference as if set forth herein at length verbatim, in the amount of $107,500. Requiring no local matching funds. Resolved this 12th day of June 2014. I move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Sandlin, a second. Any questions or discussion? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
20 yes.
Item J2K, approval of property purchase for Whitworth Buchanan Middle School. Whereas the Maples Family Partnership has offered to sell Rutherford County 5 1/2 acres that adjoins Whitworth Buchanan Middle School. And whereas there is a need to expand Whitworth Buchanan Middle School for a 6th grade annex. And whereas the property is being offered for a cost of $70,000 per acre, plus an estimated $6,125 for surveying and closing costs, for an estimated total cost of $391,125. And whereas the recent bond sale has a contingency amount of $677,805, which could be used to purchase the property offered for sale. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the contingency from the recent bond sale be used to purchase the property at an estimated total cost of $391,125, and that the county mayor and all other appropriate officials of Rutherford County, Tennessee, be and are hereby authorized to execute for and on behalf of Rutherford County the purchase and closing documents. Resolved this 12th day of June 2014. I move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Jordan and Jernigan and others. With a second. Questions? Commissioner Sandlin.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I've made this known in the other committee, and I just want to make it known on full commission, too. I think you're paying too much for this property. I'm going to vote for the project because we need the land, but I don't think a good job was done on negotiating the price. We made it worth that much money because we took sewer to the school. So I think we could have had a little better deal, a lot better deal, matter of fact, and we could have gotten this property at probably about half the cost. Thank you.
Commissioner Baum.
I want to partially echo that. I've had some constituents comment to me that they think that this is too much per acre, and they're right. I'm going to support this motion, though, because I think in the long run it'll save us money. By purchasing this acreage, we'll be able to expand this school 10 or 20 years down the road instead of building a new school from scratch, and that's going to save money because we won't, with a new school, we would have to build an auditorium and a cafeteria and sports fields. We save that money if we're able to simply expand the existing school. So that's why I'm going to support this motion tonight. But I do want to raise a question. Would it be possible to develop some kind of strategy to purchase land at lower cost? I'm concerned that when people see the county coming to buy land, they feel like they're in a stronger position to sell it for more money. Is there some way we could approach some of these folks while camouflaged with some kind of buyer's agent so that they don't know who the purchaser would be, because $70,000 is a lot.
Commissioner Baum, that's been going on for a long, long time. The deal that pops up in my mind, we could have bought where all the property for the Blackman middle, elementary, and high school for $6,000 an acre. When it got to here, it was $12,000 an acre. And I was there when it was said that was what they would sell it for. Realtor got involved. It went north quickly. And that's what we paid because we wanted a school system. It's a great school system over there. There's nothing about that. But I agree with you. I don't know who's negotiating the deal on the school properties, so to speak, or is it a combination of a couple, or how does that work, Mayor?
The school board and the school administration haven't had no part in that, none of us in County General. I will take that under advisement. And
that's one of the problems right there. We've got the taxing power, but they've got the spending power. So we got to get together. We're working together really good with the school board, but I'm just saying we need an outside source go in there and negotiate and brings the deal up here.
All right, all of that's well noted, and we'll see if Mr. McAdoo and his property management committee have any creative ideas as time goes forward. And Mr. Baum, I believe, is currently on that committee. All right, any other discussion or question? All right, we have this. Please cast your votes then on this motion.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
20 yes.
Item J2L. The next item is for information only. I do not need a motion. I am taking care of a requirement to report on debt obligation. We have recently gone to market for general obligation bonds in the amount of $31 million. And this report is to tell you the interest cost on that part of the borrowing was 2.8390. And then the second part of the report is for a smaller borrowing of general obligation bonds in the amount of $2,570,000 for airport purposes, and the interest cost was $3.6770. And this is the presentation of a CT form from recent bond issues for information only.
Commissioner Farley, a question or comment?
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a comment. And Lisa, if you would, on that, with this $31 million, we're actually borrowing this at 2.8% interest. Is that correct? And in public comments a while ago, we were told that bankruptcy is on the horizon for Rutherford County. What we were just told by Dr. Todd is what I'm remembering to see here. If bankruptcy was on the horizon, we wouldn't be able to borrow money at 2.8% interest. Is that correct? That's correct. And I don't believe we would have had the ratings that we got. I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Ratings from both of the rating agencies, we're just one notch away from AAA on both Moody's and Standard & Poor's. Okay, Mrs. Ely, you may continue.
Item J2M, approval of change to the retiree medical insurance benefits. Whereas Rutherford County currently intends to fund its retiree medical benefits with a stipend to the retiree if certain conditions are met, and whereas to avoid creating a pension liability, a change in the funding method to a separate HRA has been recommended by the Insurance Committee and the Budget Committee. And whereas the separate HRA funding method will provide a $300 per month contribution or the adequate rate, whichever is less, for employees with less than 6 months of service at December 31, 2010, a contribution of $500 per month or the adequate rate, whichever is less, for employees with 6 months up to 7 years of service at December 31, through 2010, and a $500 contribution or the adequate rate, whichever is less, to those pre-65 retirees that opt out of the county plan January 1, 2015. These employees would also have to meet certain years of service and age requirements to be eligible. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the funding method for retiree medical benefits change to a separate HRA plan with a $300 per month contribution or the adequate rate, whichever is less, for employees with less than 6 months of service at December 31 through 2010. Excuse me, a contribution of $500 per month or the adequate rate, whichever is less, for employees with 6 months up to 7 years of service at December 31 through 2010, and a $500 contribution or the adequate rate, whichever is less, to those pre-65 retirees that opt out of the county plan January 1, 2015. Resolved this 12th day of June 2014. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Commissioner Schaefer, second. Any questions? Commissioner Farley.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules. I'd like to ask the director a question concerning this resolution.
Okay. Do we have a motion, a second on that, suspending the rules from somebody? Mr. Turner, all of you in favor of that, please say aye. Aye. Okay. Here comes our Risk Management Director, Mrs. Stinson. Mr. Farley.
This resolution, what will it do to the retirees' benefits?
Really, it's just a funding issue. For existing retirees, it won't do anything unless they elect to take the stipend beginning January 1st, 2015. When we went through the difficult process of the GASP and looking at how to do that, originally it was set up to do a health savings account. We can't do that because you have to have a high deductible plan attached in order to have an HSA. So then we wanted to just do a payroll process to simplify it. And once that was passed, Ms. Nolan actually attended a conference recently where she had learned that that would become a pension liability. So we searched for other funding methods, and the final answer is to put it in an HRA. It will allow them to have any qualified medical expenses deducted from the HRA, and that does include their medical premiums from what I've been told. So there's really no impact. It doesn't change current programs or benefits. It only changes how they're going to get that money, should they elect that, and for future retirees that fall under that provision.
So basically, it's not a negative impact or a positive impact on either one then?
That's right, because nobody's in the program yet. And once they actually choose it, it still wouldn't have a negative impact because most will accrue that much expense within a month based on what our claims show.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have any questions? Excuse me, Ms. Stinson, I'm not sure. Commissioner P? No. So not for her. Okay, then. Excuse me. All right, sir.
Normally, I would read a conflict of interest here where my wife is works for the Board of Education. However, she's not a retiree, so I might ask Jim, should I still read the conflict statement? Okay, at this time I will then. Because my wife is an employee of the Board of Education, I have a conflict on the issue to be voted. I declare that my argument and vote reflect only to my conscience and my obligation to the citizens this body represents.
Okay. Any other discussion or any other people that need to read? All right. That being the case, we did have a motion and a second, I believe, on that, did we not? Yes, we did, Mr. Schaefer. All right. Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
I am showing 19 yes, 1 no.
Right. Let the record reflect 19 yes, 1 no, and 1 no vote. All right. There is not a report tonight from our Health and Education Committee, not a report from Property Management, and neither from Public Safety Committee. Therefore, we're now ready to take the Public Works and Planning Committee. They have a resolution, and Commissioner Jernigan.
Public Works and Planning has a resolution to approve a TDOT proposal designed as a state project 75946-245-604, State Route 266, east of State Route 840 to west of Mona Road. Whereas the attached proposal between Rutherford County, Tennessee and the State Department of Transportation is for construction of a project designated as State Project number 75946-2456-04 that is described as State Route 66 Jefferson Pike from east of State Route 840 to west of Mona Road in the county of Rutherford. A copy of said proposal being attached hereto as Exhibit 1 and incorporated herein at length as if set forth verbatim. Where it is in the best interest of the citizens of Rutherford County to enter into said proposal for the betterment of the community. Now therefore be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the Rutherford County hereby approves the proposal for construction of a project designated as State Project number 75946-2456-04 that is described as State Route 266 Jefferson Pike from east of State Route 840 to west of Mona in Rutherford County. Be it further resolved that the appropriate officials for and on behalf of Rutherford County being hereby are authorized to execute for and on behalf of Rutherford County and all documents required by said proposal with the State Tennessee Department of Transportation. Resolved the 12th day of June 2014. I so move.
Commissioner Will Jordan, second. Any questions or discussions on this? All right then. All of you in favor of this then, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excuse me. My apologies, Mr. Stevens. We have to call the roll. Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan. All right, we're ready for steering Legislative and Governmental Committee and Commissioner Coggin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, we have a resolution to approve the Third Amendment to the Legal Services Agreement. Whereas the attached Third Amendment to Legal Services Agreement between Rutherford County, Tennessee and James C. Cope, Josh A. McCrary, and the law firm of Cope, Hudson, Reed & McCrary, PLLC, is for continuation of legal services. A copy of said Third Agreement to Legal Services Agreement being attached hereto as Exhibit 1 and incorporated herein at length as if set forth verbatim. And whereas it is in the best interest of the citizens of Rutherford County for the county to enter into said proposal for the betterment of the community. Now therefore be it resolved by Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that Rutherford County hereby approves the Third Amendment to the Legal Services Agreement with James C. Cope, Josh A. McCrary, and Cope, Hudson, Reed & McCrary, PLLC. Be it further resolved that the appropriate officials for and on behalf of Rutherford County be and hereby are authorized to execute any and all documents required by said Third Agreement to Legal Services Agreement, resolved this 12th day of June 2014. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Second, Commissioner Young and others. Commissioner Sandlin.
One question on that. Is it still going to be reviewed, either Mr. Chairman or Jim, each year or every 2 years, or do I ask this question on the next one we're getting ready to look at?
This agreement is for...
This is just about Josh here, right?
No, this is
the whole thing. Okay.
This extends the term and it appoints
attachments on there. So
Mr. McCrary as an additional person to stand in the stead of Mr. Cope and getting that done.
We already thought he was there anyway because he's been there. So.
Right. So both of them, it's all together. This is the only amendment you have here.
Okay. I need an answer to my question then.
What is your question?
Are we looking at this every year?
No,
are we looking
this is a 4-year agreement, and that's what this Third Amendment authorizes to be done.
It's been a 2-year, and we've looked at it every year, and now it's going to a 4-year, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Just making sure for the upcoming commission and everything that's involved.
There's no change from the current one where it's no market changes besides the length of the term. Because I have had a couple of people mention we're making a decision that locks in. We're going to have 6, 7, 8 new commissioners in 2 months, and we're doing something that's going to lock them in. So I'm a little uncomfortable being 4 years, which will land right in the exact same time again. But as long as it's the same numbers and all in the past, I'm fine with it. But I hate to approve a 4-year project a month before the election, and a new commissioner is going to come in and inherit it, to some extent, and they won't get a chance to see it again until they serve one term. They won't have much to say about it at all. But I'm okay with it, I guess.
Any other discussion?
Well, that's kind of what we went through before. That what got us into a turmoil situation. So that could exactly be what's happened. But so it's going to stay no increases then or anything for 4 years?
Go ahead, Jim. There's two different pieces here. They have a basic budget within county general that's fixed, and every year we review that just like any other department.
This is the $72,000 piece.
It's the fixed price for all the services you get other than litigation.
Right.
And the litigation is covered, as part of the original agreement. And other than that, it doesn't change. It doesn't increase anything. And on an annual basis, this commission will still be voting on the budget for the legal services each year. You'll still have the right to vote on the budget that is applied during that time period.
So there's only right now 2 pieces.
There's one agreement, Commissioner,
one agreement
that covers everything.
Oh, there's a $72,000 piece, and then there's
all part of one agreement, Commissioner, but there are different components of that one agreement.
Okay.
There's a fixed fee for the county attorney's office, which includes the $72,000 to which you make reference. And then there's another component that has just for the litigation services that's separate from that.
It's an hourly rate for Mr. Cope and the other partners in that, and it's fixed, and it increases only.
That's the 260 part there.
No, that's not the. Stop it.
Go ahead.
The budgeted amount is, Lisa, you can tell us precisely, it's about $260,000 for general services, the legal services, the general component of that. Any litigation that they have to.
I understand that. I'm just trying to confirm the 260 part, and then there's a $72,000 part.
No, the 72 is included in the 260.
That's within the 260.
The 260 covers everything.
Okay.
Other
Besides
than litigation.
Outside litigation.
That's correct.
Now, some litigation you handle, and some has to be farmed out or whatever, and you go through that process.
Seldom, but occasionally you'll have an attorney that will handle an insurance matter or something if we're not otherwise qualified to handle it, just like we have bond counsel that gets paid for bond services and that sort of thing.
That's the additional cost. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? All right, there being none, please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
20 yes.
All right, thank you. Motion carried. Continue on, Mr. Coggin.
Commissioners, the next 2 items are resolutions that we simply need to adopt that we have sent to the legislature this year to be passed, that we need to pass now again, so that they have approved them. This first one is a resolution adopting private chapter number 47, House Bill 2515, Senate Bill number 2606, relative to the Rutherford County Highway Commission Department. Whereas the General Assembly has enacted private chapter number 47, House Bill number 2515, Senate Bill number 2606, relative to the Rutherford County Highway Department. And whereas a 2/3 vote of the legislative body is required to approve private chapter 47, House Bill number 2515, Senate Bill number 2606 with certification of the same to the Secretary of State. And whereas a copy of Private Chapter 47, House Bill number 2515, Senate Bill number 2606 is attached hereto as Exhibit 1 and incorporated herein by reference as if set forth herein at length verbatim. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners by Rutherford County that Private Chapter 47, House Bill 2515, Senate Bill 2606 be and the same hereby is adopted, ratified, and approved by Rutherford County. It is further resolved that the county clerk is directed to send a notice to the Secretary of State of the State of Tennessee of the ratification of the private act as required by law, resolved this 12th day of June 2014. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Second, Commissioner Jernigan. Any questions, Commissioner P.?
Could you refresh my memory on Private Chapter 47, House Bill 2515, exactly what that does for
you remember when we had the redistricting, we had to realign the districts. We made the road board districts and the school board districts come into conformity. That's what this was about.
I just wanted to be sure. Thank you.
Right. Did I get a motion and a second on that, Mr. Spence? I think so.
Yes, sir. We sure did.
All right. Any other comments or discussion? Please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
20 yes.
Continue on, sir.
Next, we have a resolution adopting Private Chapter number 76, House Bill number 2164, Senate Bill number 2378, relative to the courts of Rutherford County. This is very similar to the last one, just dealing with the court system. Whereas the General Assembly has enacted Private Chapter number 76, House Bill number 2164, Senate Bill number 2378, relative to the courts of Rutherford County, and whereas a two-thirds vote of the legislative body is required to approve the Private Chapter 76, House Bill number 2164, Senate Bill number 2378, with certification of the same to the Secretary of State. And whereas a copy of Private Chapter 76, House Bill number 2164, Senate Bill number 2378 is attached hereto as Exhibit 1 and incorporated herein by reference as if set forth herein at length verbatim. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of the Commissioners of Rutherford County that Private Chapter 76, House Bill number 2164, Senate Bill number 2378 be and the same hereby is adopted, ratified, and approved by Rutherford County. It is further resolved that the county clerk is directed to send a notice of the Secretary of State of the State of Tennessee to the ratification of the private act as required by law, resolved this 12th day of June 2014. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
And a second from Commissioner Serino. Any questions or discussion on this? Okay, there being no questions or discussion, please cast your votes.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the votes.
20 yes.
Thank you.
Next, Commissioners, for your information only and for the official presentation, we have the Property Assessor Employee Handbook to be presented tonight. You have a lovely 38-page document on your iPad for your viewing pleasure. Thank you.
We'll let Mr. Cope just make one comment or two here, and then if you have any questions of Mr. Mitchell, he's available.
Commissioners, as you know, the property assessor is a constitutional office, and each of the constitutional officers has a legal right to have their own separate handbook, as it were, if they would like to have that, or they can be covered by the county general policies. And Mr. Mitchell has been working on having a handbook of his own. I would say the vast majority of this comports precisely with the existing county handbook, to the extent that you want to ask Mr. Mitchell any questions. If there are any differences that he would like to address, you're welcome to do that. The state law does not require nor permit the county legislative body to vote on this. It's just required to be presented. It does require the state law for the county attorney's office to review the policy to make sure it complies with the law, and then for this to be presented to the county commission and spread on the minutes of the county commission. Mr. McCreary has worked extensively with Mr. Mitchell on this policy and has advised that it entirely comports with all legal requirements of state and local law. And so we have recommended that it be accepted as such. We don't have any issues with what Mr. Mitchell's proposing to do. Again, it's just being presented as being spread on the minutes of the County Commission, so there will be an official policy of record. Be happy to answer any further questions.
Mr. Farley.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, my question would be to Mr. Mitchell instead of our legal counsel. I'd like to know what the difference between this handbook and what our handbook is.
All right, we'll let Mr. Mitchell address that. I think, it's what, excuse me.
Question I want to ask is for Mr. Cope.
Okay, well, let's let Mr. Mitchell answer this question first.
Oh, okay.
Since Mr. Farley asked it first.
Good evening. As Mr. Cope said, this document is essentially the same handbook that the county currently has with some slight modifications. One of them that I felt very strongly was important to address was to make sure that the employees of a constitutional office have a clear grievance policy if their grievance is against the constitutional officer. So with the assistance of the county attorney's office, we came upon an appropriate way to address this, not only to give the employees of the assessor's office a clear grievance procedure that they could follow, but also to possibly prevent the county from needless litigation because of it.
Did they not have I'm just asking questions here. Did they not have a grievance process before?
They did, but it really, as we looked at it, as looked at it with Ms. McCreary and Ms. Stevenson, there was a gap there in what's the proper procedure if someone's complaint is against the constitutional officer. How do they find redress in it? So that was a difficult one to answer, but we've come up with a solution for it. And I believe Ms. Stevenson's going to incorporate that. I don't want to speak for her, but that's what we looked at. She's in the process of redoing the county handbook too.
Is there any other changes in the handbook?
Not really. It's essentially the same that we had before. There's some minor modifications with who they report to. If they have a grievance, they come to me. We work closely in conjunction with the HR department. It was just tailoring things to let everybody kind of know that this is we're going to take care of the folks in this department and make sure that things are done right. There's some minor issues with going off the county handbook. It didn't particularly give the assessor the right to assign vehicles to employees. It said the county. Now, as the county, that could mean just about anybody. So we had to refine the language in that to say the assessor is going to say who can use the county vehicles that are assigned to the assessor's office.
Thank you.
And now, Commissioner Schaefer, did you have a question for Mr. Cope or Mr. Mitchell?
Let me ask the question, and either one of them can answer it, I guess. That's fine. This is not a fee office, so the assessor's office has to follow the county pay plan? I mean,
nothing has changed in that respect here.
No, but maybe in the future. I mean, they wrote the book. Okay, it's got wage and salaries and stuff, and I was just skimming through, and here's why I bring this up.
All of those components are the same as in our current handbook.
Okay, and so they got to stay that way, right?
I don't know whether I'm not saying whether they have to stay that way forever.
Well, I'm asking. Okay, then I'm asking the attorney then, because it was my understanding that fee offices can set up their own salary schedule if they want.
The fee offices, their salary schedule are subject to Chancery Court approval, subject to the county mayor signing off on those. So what happens is each fee officer, if they were to disagree with what the mayor recommended, they would be able to take that into Chancery Court and have a hearing. We haven't had many of those, very rarely. We've had a couple in my recollection, and they were somewhat contentious. But for the most part, the county mayor has always been able to reach an agreement with the fee officers on what those salaries would be. And when he reaches that agreement, or she reaches that agreement, that's then presented to the chancellor of the Chancery Court, and he signs an order approving those salary schedules. And that's done on an annual basis. Did that answer your question?
And the property assessor's office is not a fee office.
Right.
It's not a fee office.
So his has to follow the salary schedule of the county.
That's right.
And that's what's written in here.
That's
it's
right.
Just, again.
That's
okay.
correct.
That's all.
Commissioner Sandlin.
I guess for the property assessor or the Jim Cope, our attorney, grievance is made toward the property assessor. Who's in the lawsuit here? You know, are they going to go after him? Or are they going to go after the county who's got a bigger purse?
Well, I think it would be against the office holder, but Mr. Mitchell, you might address exactly how this works so they'll fully understand what it is you do.
If a complaint is against the assessor, a complaint may be appealed to the Attorney General, District Attorney General, or to the county attorney for investigation.
If there is a grievance against the assessor himself,
right,
then that can be handled by any one of three people, three entities he named
right.
there.
The way it was handled before, the complaint was to be filed to HR or to the county mayor.
The county commission is still going to be in on the lawsuit.
Well, we don't, it depends on the facts and circumstances. We have no way of knowing who the action would be brought against, whether it be an office holder or county or both.
This handbook here doesn't take us out or
no, well, a handbook cannot exempt you from litigation one way or another. A handbook just talks about internal policies on how it's handled administratively. It might then end up in a lawsuit at some point, but there is an administrative procedure that Mr. Mitchell's outlined here for you to handle a complaint that might relate to his position as the property assessor. And it really is not impacts one way or another who would be in a lawsuit. A lawsuit would be something that could happen after an administrative process was completed.
I mean, I'd like it, definitely clear. If you got your own handbook and you want your own rules, then, hey, they go after the property assessor and not the county. But I understand they can incorporate anybody into the lawsuit, because I would say the county's got the bigger purse strings than a property assessor does. So, of course, we're going to go after both of them, if that be the case. But your office has looked at it?
Yes, we have.
Approved it?
Yes.
Made its tweaks and all that sort of stuff? Because, really and truly, for me to give a wholeheartedly yes, then I'd need to look through it and word by word kind of thing. But really, if the attorney's office has looked at it and good, then I'm good.
Yeah, and I think everyone's on board with it. It was just Mr. Mitchell's concern that if there was a complaint made against the person sitting in his position, he wanted it clearly defined on who would be reviewing that complaint. He didn't want there to be any issues about there being any concerns of independence and a fair review, and the employee would have the opportunity to have an independent third-party person looking at it. And this was his thought on how it should be done, and we're comfortable with it legally.
Any other questions? All right, thank you then, Mr.
Thank you very much. I give this to Mr.
You can give that a copy, hard copy over to Mr. Spence for the clerk's records. Okay, we do have a motion and a second, I believe. Is that correct, Mr. Spence?
Yes, sir. Excuse me. No, we do not have a second.
Right, do we?
Only.
Oh, my correction, that's not required. This is simply a matter of notification. We do not have to vote on this. So he has presented and given over to you the commission, and we're putting it in the record that the assessor has his handbook that has been properly developed and approved by our county attorney. So we just let the minutes reflect that, Mr. Spence, right?
Yes, sir.
Is there any other business to come before this body? Commissioner Allen.
I just want to remind everybody that Smyrna is the place to be this weekend. We've got the Great Tennessee Air Show going on. And then also Friday night, we're having our Simply Smyrna celebration, and it's where we're doing a rededication of the Smyrna Depot. We've made renovations to that, so now it can be rented out as an event venue, as well as the Smyrna Assembly Hall. Along with that, we're going to be having food vendors and artisans, and it's just going to be a great party from like 5 to 10 o'clock, followed the next morning by our very first farmers market at the same location. So the farmers market is Saturday morning from 8 to noon. Air show is going on all weekend. Thanks.
Okay, any other business? Commissioner Farley.
Don't forget about Bonnaroo. I know Commissioner Gooch has been, has been over there.
Okay. For all of the public out there and all of you as well, I'll remind everyone that on June the 17th at 7 p.m. we have a public hearing regarding our budget that has been developed. So encourage and invite everyone to come, or at least observe and view that on television. And we would also like to send our condolences and sympathies to the family of Dr. Bart Warner, the father-in-law of Brian Robertson, and that's the reason he's not here tonight. He passed in his sleep last night, I believe, so we're sad about that, but we thought that you should know that in the community. He should know that, and he's been our medical examiner for many years, and we're going to miss him, and I'm sure his family will, and we just want to say we're sharing in those sorrows with them. Anyone else have anything they'd like to say tonight? If not, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.